With us, we have Veronique Tremblay, who's a senior data scientist and responsible AI lead at Beneva. And she will be talking to us about the impact of Bill C-27 on big data and analytics, enhancing data privacy, and promoting responsible AI use.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, Veronique Tremblay, I'm going to talk to you about Bill C-27. Just by raising your hands, how many of you have already heard about Bill C-27? Okay, and how many haven't heard about it? And how many are just not listening to me and doing something else? Okay. But, well, some of you have already heard about it. So today I'm going to talk about the impact of this bill on big data and analytics, so on our job, on what we do, and about enhancing privacy and promoting responsible AI use. First of all, I want to put a disclaimer here. I'm not a lawyer. I'm here to talk to you about a law, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm a data scientist. I have a background in math. I've built a lot of AI systems in the past. I have a PhD on algorithmic fairness, and my professor was a math teacher. So really my background is technical, and I work in a technical team at Beneva. I work in the AI team, and I help data scientists and developers apply those responsible AI principles and the law like Bill C-27. So I have a very technical perspective on this. So let's talk about Bill C-27. It's the Artificial Intelligence and Data Act. It's not adopted yet, okay? The bill was first tabled in June 2022. The bill went through the second reading in the House of Commons in April 2023. And there are a lot of steps before the bill come into force, and it won't come into force sooner than 2025. And I think it's optimistic. Okay, because it seems like it's very slow. But it's gonna come, okay? This kind of law is already in place in some countries, like in the European Union. So we're gonna have to have this law here, and we're gonna have to apply it. So what's the content of this bill? There are three parts. Part one, the Consumer Privacy Protection Act. Part two, the Personal Information and Data Protection Tribunal Act. And part three, the Artificial Intelligence and Data Act. And today, I'm going to talk to you about part three. This part is there to establish common requirements for the design, development, and use of artificial intelligence, including measures to mitigate risk of harm and biased output. It's also there to prohibit specific practices with data, but at the moment, the bill does not have much information about this part, so I'm going to focus on the two first bullet points. Okay, so first of all, what is considered as AI? Here you have the definition from the bill. So an AI is a technological system that processes data through machine learning, neural network, or any other techniques. Logistic regression is an AI as well. Okay, so any technique to generate content like a ChatGPT or to make decision, prediction, etc. So people often ask me, where I don't do AI, I do analytics. It doesn't apply to me. Well, that's wrong, okay? If you look at this definition, analytics is AI, okay? So this law will apply to any kind of analytics or advanced analytics. They chose an impact-based approach. The European Union did the same thing. So it means that obligation will apply to high-impact system only. Now, what is a high-impact system? And I suggest that we take the time to read what's an high-impact system. An high-impact system means an artificial intelligence system that meets the criteria for high-impact systems that are established by regulation. I love the lawyers, okay? They don't know what to write, so they put stuff like this, and we're gonna have to manage this. It doesn't help us that much, but fortunately, the bill comes with a companion. And in this companion, we have a little bit more information, but we don't know if the law will be interpreted as in the companion in reality after. So we can look at this companion, and it's going to help us, but it's not necessarily the truth. So what are the key factors in determining a high-impact system? Here you have 6 factors. Evidence of risk of harm to health and safety, human rights, based on both the intended purpose and here it's interesting, and potential unintended consequences. So when you build an AI, you're going to have to think of something you didn't think of. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit hard to apply. Other key factors, severity of potential harm, of course, the scale of use, the extent to which it is not reasonably possible to opt out from that system. So, for example, it's pretty easy to opt out from Netflix, okay? I don't have to use this. It's a little bit harder to opt out from credit scoring, for example, okay? So this is going to be a key factor in determining high-impact system. Imbalance of economics or social circumstances or age of impacted person. A system made for children, for example, will probably be considered as higher impact system. And finally, the degree to which the risks are already regulated under another law. I work in an insurance company. We are already really very, very regulated, so maybe pricing in insurance won't be considered as a high-impact system. We don't know, but maybe it's going to be taken into account. So these are the key factors. Now we're going to go through some examples. A lot of them are from the companion document of the Artificial Intelligence and Data Act, but some of them are from me. Okay, some examples are found. Screening system impacting access to services or employment. So CV screening, for example, and credit scoring. A biometric system used for identification and inference. So identification by voice, for example, when you call your bank and they can identify you by voice. This is an example. Disease prediction with genetic data, because it's biometric data, it's very sensible data. System critical to health and safety, autonomous driving system, triage decision in the healthcare. So here I just want to specify that this new law won't prohibit this kind of use of AI, okay? It's just that when we will do this kind of AI or this kind of analytics or models or any way you want to call them, we will have to do it the right way, okay? It's not forbidden, it's just that some regulation will apply to our job. And systems that can influence human behavior at scale. We can think of recommendation system, or we can think of deepfake, or more recently, deep nude. If you haven't heard about deep nude, there's this guy here, Gabriel, from Italy, and he was nice enough to provide us a list of all the deep nude apps and their characteristic on GitHub. And this post was there for 21 hours, and there's already 191 stars and 29 forks, so it's pretty popular, and I think it can influence human behavior. So this kind of, the Bill C-27 is kind of trying to regulate this kind of stuff. Not prohibited. Okay, so what is going to change for high-impact system? Well, basically, we're going to have to think a little bit more before and after deploying our system. If I want to summarize it in one sentence, that's the difference. If we go a little bit more in detail, Bill C-27 focuses a lot on safety, robustness, and biased output. Here are some sections of the law, and I took the exact sentences, okay? So we're going to have to assess whether it's a high-impact system, establish measures to identify, assess, and mitigate risks, and monitor compliance with the mitigation measure and the effectiveness of this mitigation measure. More precisely, we're going to have to ask and answer a few more questions that we may or may not ask ourselves when we build a new AI system. So the kind of question we're going to have to answer are, what happens if the system crashes? And what do we do with that? What's our plan if the system crashes? What happens if the system makes a mistake? So what happens if the system gives credit to someone who doesn't have money enough to get credit? What happens if the system, on the opposite, what happens if the system doesn't give credit to someone who deserves credit? Okay? What happens, what's the impact, and what can we do to mitigate this kind of risk? And finally, what happens is if the system is not used the way it was supposed to be used. Okay, I've been making models for about 15 years. I've implemented a lot of models, decision models, and very often I found that people doesn't use the model the way I thought it would be used. Okay, so sometimes people are very creative on how to use AI model, and a lot of data scientists, of developers think that, oh, that's not our problem. I did it this way to do that, and I feel like I'm okay with that, but no, okay, we have to think a little bit more of what people could do wrong with the tools we build. And it's our responsibility to do that. We cannot say, oh, it's not my responsibility. I told him not to do that, and that's it. No, that doesn't work like this. So that's the kind of question we're going to have to answer. Okay, and now about a biased output. I told you I did my PhD in algorithmic fairness, and I can promise you there are no unbiased models, okay? All the models are biased. This is models, AI or statistics are based on stereotypes. Okay, that's what we do. So if someone tells you, my model is unbiased, that's not true. But the law is gonna ask us to do unbiased model. I don't know how this could be applied, but we can look at this definition. So a biased output is an output that adversely differentiates two groups directly or indirectly. And that's the important point, without justification. And that's where I feel that we're not gonna improve that much the world with this law, because you can justify about anything. Okay, if you have some background in stat, you can say that if you torture the data a little bit, you're going to be able to justify about anything. So, yeah, there's a focus on human rights and fairness, but at this moment, I'm not sure that this is going to really help us improve fairness in humanity. But this is a beginning. What is clearer and a little bit easier is that we're going to need to be more transparent. And this one is easier. Now, we're going to have to keep records describing, in general terms, the measure we establish and the reason supporting our assessment of the model. So if we make some choices about discrimination, for example, we will have to say it publicly. So that's going to be, there's going to be some changes because of the transparency. And more transparency, people who make AI systems are going to have to publish on a publicly available website all the information about the AI. Now, how the AI is intended to be used, the type of content it generates, and the mitigation measure established. So we're going to have to publish the risk and the mitigation measure and any other information. So this is for people who build an AI system, and for those who use it or operate it, there's the same obligation. So if you use an AI system, even though you didn't build it, you bought it, for example, you're going to have to publish on a publicly available website how the system is effectively used by the company. Okay? So that's a lot of transparency. Okay, so yeah, in conclusion, the AI and Data Act is coming. It's not there already, but it's coming, and we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared to be more transparent and to think a little bit more about risk and a mitigation measure. So Artificial Intelligence and Data Act means a little more work for data scientists and developers. Yes, we're going to have to work a little bit harder on fairness, for example, on documentation and data quality and stuff like that. A little more thinking, and I didn't write it here, but it's important, a little more thinking and a little more responsibility for decision maker. Okay, but it's also going to be much more security, fairness, and transparency for all citizens. So it is a good beginning. I told you that about fairness, I'm not sure it's the answer, but it's a beginning. What's missing in Bill C-27? There's nothing about autonomy of people, and there's nothing about environment. We're talking about environment and large language model a lot, and there's nothing about this in Bill C-27. I think it's like the weakness of the bill, but yet it's there. So yeah, that's it for me. I'm going to take your question. If you want to talk more about responsible AI, I invite you to join me on LinkedIn. If you scan this, you're supposed to just go to my page and be able to connect with me. Please mention that you met me here, because you know there's a lot of non-interesting people on LinkedIn, and I suppose you're all very interesting here. So if you say that you met me here, I'm gonna just accept you right away. Thank you.
In this case, we are getting a forward view on what's coming and to prepare for the future. It's very important to be ready for regulation, legislation, especially one that has a lot of areas which are not well defined.
Yeah.
So why don't we turn over to you, to the audience, for questions? Do I see a hand up there? Yep.
Hey, thank you. I get that at this point it's there's a lot of vagueness with some of the language. Do you have a sense of what they mean by scale? What is scale?
At scale.
At scale.
At scale, it means that it's used by a lot of people.
Like
It's whatever you're dealing with scale. I think we're both academics here. So it's more when in old systems it used to be only operated in one company. Now you're going province-wide, country-wide, global-wide. So that's what you can define. You're going beyond a very small group of people.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Actually, I have two questions. First question is, does this bill say anything about facial recognition that is used by police force in some jurisdictions? I know it's used like in China, in Russia, and I think like in California there were some issues with using that technique. Question number two, you're talking about bias without justification. What if there is a perceived justification in bias? Does it mean it's a fair game?
Okay, about your first question, I've seen nothing in Bill 27 and the companion about facial recognition, okay? But I think it is included in a biometric system because facial recognition is biometric data. So, but there's nothing so precise about this specific case. If you look at the bill itself, it's just saying that if you build that kind of system, you have to identify the risk, the mitigation measure, check biases, and be transparent about this. But that's it. It's not going further than that in this bill at the moment. Yeah. And about your second question was about bias. What is a justification of bias? Okay. Well, there are many ways of seeing what is fair and what is not fair. And the humanity have thought about this for thousands of years. Okay, we still read Aristotle about that, and we didn't find one way to say this is fair and this is not fair. So you can think of something and say it is fair because it's an equal treatment, for example. And someone could say, oh, it is unfair because this group is disadvantaged. Disadvantaged, I'm sorry. And so what is fair and what is not fair can be justified by many ways and by many metrics. You can find a lot of metrics. The last paper I've seen on metrics, there were, I think, 21 metrics. So you can choose the one that fit what you want to say. So that's where it's a little bit hard to say that a model is fair or not. We're going to have to work a little bit more with philosophers, people from social science, to try to determine in a specific context what is really fair or not. And the most important about fairness is that we will have to try to get a step back um, put our own opinion a little bit aside and think about it from different point of view and choose a point of view knowing that there are different points of view. And that's the hard part. And yeah, I think that people people could justify about anything with different metrics or a different point of view or different philosopher or yeah. So that's going to be. I I will be happy to see what a judge is gonna say the day there's gonna be something in court about this. I don't know how they're gonna answer that kind of question. I spent 5 years during my PhD trying to answer that, and I didn't find the answer. So, yeah.
One last question.
Environment in the LLM.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you would put in there? Yeah.
I don't know how we can put it there, but maybe it's not necessarily in the law that we can. Maybe we could do something with ESG, ESG. I don't know in English what's the word, but yeah, I'd like to. For example, we could be more transparent about how many server we use, how many dioxide carbon do we do generate with our AI. So there could be more transparency about that in the law, but I don't think they could tell us, no, you can't spend more than this kind of energy with your model. So I think that the solution is more about transparency. If you have to put it publicly on your website, you're going to be careful. But I don't think it would be a good idea for the government to say, like, you cannot do this or this, because anyway, Google's going to do it. So that's just going to be bad for our company, and that's not going to save the world.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
We have less than a minute. If anybody has a quick question. If not, merci beaucoup.
Avec plaisir.
Quick. No, you.
I can give you some examples after the conference
Okay.
if you want. But yes, for example, we can make a model to. Okay, I have a good example that everybody knows. Okay, the model used in the criminal system justice in the United States to say if someone goes back in prison or not. At the beginning, the statistician who made this model, and I've talked to him, okay, he did this he made this model to help people in the prison choosing the person who's gonna have some help to not do this again, okay? So the model was made to help prisoner, and if it was used by another company to give this to judges and put back people in prison. So that's a good example, and I don't need to go to detail, private detail, but that's a very good example of a model used not in the way the statistician did it at the beginning.
Merci beaucoup.